Hello, everyone. I am Natalie Milam, licensed clinical social worker and PhD student at the University of Georgia. I am currently studying how poverty impacts people, and what their experiences of trauma, what their lived experiences of trauma are. So I want to just say a really big thank you to the steering committee for inviting me to talk to you all about this very important topic. I know that y'all only meet once a year where you're bringing all of the mental health organizations together. So, American Psychiatry Association, International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation, SAMHSA, and the World Health Organization. So, today I will be presenting a visual poster that reflects the research that I have done. And my objectives are very simple. I simply want to describe the state of poverty in the United States. I want to give a very general definition of trauma. And then I would also like to describe how the impact of poverty emulates a trauma disorder and specifically PTSD, with the exception of criterion A that requires there to have been a physically or sexually violent experience that someone themselves have experienced or that someone has witnessed. Okay, so just right out of the gate, in 2024, there were 35.9 million people in poverty in the United States. And I want you just to allow that to set in for a moment. 35.9 million people right here at home, right here in the great United States of America. And so the International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation describes trauma as traumatic events that have traditionally been considered those that harm the psychological integrity of an individual. And so it's really important that even though, people or society may not consider poverty to be traumatic, people are actually having experiences that to them very much do feel traumatic. So what I did was I just took a subreddit post that was posted on the Complex PTSD subreddit, and it read, "Poverty is traumatic. I honestly never heard anyone mention this until the last couple of years as I started my late 20s. It makes so much sense when you think about it." That's it. That's the post. I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who hasn't realized it yet. And so, there were so many people that responded to this. There were over 400 posts of people replying with their experiences. So what I did was I utilized a methodology from Kaplan and Purser's field tested social media analysis. And I went through and I looked at just using like the four criteria of PTSD in terms of symptomology. I want to be clear that I'm talking only symptomology here. I looked at that, and so I'm going to now present my poster that also describes this. So let's see here. Bear with me as I get this on the screen. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can now see that. So if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the four different symptomology type criteria of the DSM for PTSD. So we have intrusion, avoidance, negative mood or cognitions, and reactivity. So for intrusion, we had a person that posted, "Financial insecurity is a massive callback to my trauma." Another person who said, "In elementary school, it killed me inside every time I got pulled out of class just to be told that I smelled bad and needed to wash up better. It triggers me when my partner mentions that I need to put deodorant on or shower because I smell bad." So in both of these examples, we can see that there are triggers, right? So here, this person's talking about just anytime that their partner even mentions that they need to put on deodorant, that's a trigger for them. And then this first person that mentioned financial insecurity is a massive callback. So a massive callback, that's in fact a trigger, and it's to their trauma. For avoidance, we had one user that says and this user's talking about their husband. So he ordered a couple of things I had in our Amazon cart for like a month and said, you don't have to leave stuff in the cart. You can just order what you need. Another user posted, when going to the supermarket, I'm sometimes brought back to a time where I had to be very selective about what I bought because I had to live off of very little money, and a mistake might mean living on the streets. Like with every product, you wonder how much you really need it. I can live without butter. So we can see in both of these examples, like there's the avoidance of the memories that come along with being living and growing up in poverty. Okay, and this next criterion, we have negative mood or cognitions. And so we have a person who said trying so hard not to lose hope for a better future. And then another user who said, I got past it. Financially, I'm better than I ever imagined, all on my own. But that fear and anxiety is still in me. We have another user here who said, I also have a really caring partner who makes six figures, yet I feel really anxious and guilty when I spend money. So you can kind of see in the three that I've read, like just negative mood, negative thoughts. Like you have people, here that even in this example, right? Like this person has gotten out of poverty, clawed their way out, and yet that anxiety is still, the fear and anxiety is still there. And then finally, there's reactivity. And so one person saying, I want to get therapy and not drink too much. Another person said, I become very anxious when I see food being wasted or when leftovers don't get eaten and go into the trash. And so there that we're really talking about the reactivity, the hypervigilance, right? With what comes up in terms of leftovers. And so like I said before, using Kaplan and Purser's methodology really allowed me to go through and take the criteria from PTSD and utilize that to see how poverty is experienced as something that is traumatic for people. And so today, my call to you is it's really simple. I really encourage you all to modify the DSM-5 to really like take away that criterion A about it having to be something physical, something sexually violent, because these people's experience of poverty actually has these some of the same exact, and actually it meets all four of those criteria. So thank you all so much for allowing me to come into this meeting and speak today. And I hope that you will consider my request. Thank you so much.